All right, there is new controversy involving Trump Defense Secretary pick Pete Hegseth. Tax filings suggest that Hegseth overspent funds while serving as the director of the Veterans for Freedom organization back in 2006. CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion has been following Hegseth as he makes his way through Capitol Hill today to meet with Republican leaders. Just moments ago, he had this to say to Nikole between those meetings. Take a listen.
What is your message to senators while you're here?
I welcome their advice, and it's always great to have an opportunity to talk to them about how they want to make sure our military is strong and ready.
What makes you qualified to be Defense Secretary, sir?
Go upstairs, guys. Go upstairs.
What makes you qualified to be Defense Secretary, sir? Can you describe the relationship with your mother?
I love my mother, and I love the men that I serve with in combat. Shot at, shot back. And I'll always fight.
Did she ever accuse you of abusing women, and did she tell you to get help?
How does this process been overall?
Can you explain to the nonprofits that you led why in some years you spent more than you raised? Why did those organizations spend more than they took in under your leadership?
And Pete Hegseth there ignoring most of Nikole Killion's questions there, some pointed questions. Now, these new details have been revealed just 2 weeks after CBS News confirmed a 22-page Monterey, California police report detailing alleged events that conspired between Pete Hegseth and a woman back in 2017. Now, the woman, referred to as Jane Doe, said she believes something was slipped in her drink. She also recalled saying no a lot while in a hotel room with Pete Hegseth and that he stopped her from leaving the room. Hegseth also spoke to police saying he was, quote, buzzed but not intoxicated. He says the sexual encounter was consensual and denies any wrongdoing for any of the allegations. CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane has the very latest on this. Scott, thanks for being with us. Hegseth already back at the Capitol, as we saw there today. How much are these allegations influencing the conversations he's having with Republican leaders?
At this point, his meetings are with the most devoted Trump loyalists in the U.S. Senate. Senators from Alabama, West Virginia, Nebraska, Missouri, those who've been in synchronicity with Donald Trump on most everything. So we haven't heard any dissenting voices coming out of these meetings. We've heard members of the Senate come out and champion Pete Hegseth and his candidacy to be the nation's next defense secretary. Let's see if that shifts. If and when Pete Hegseth takes meetings with those who have run contrary to Donald Trump on previous issues and previous nominations. There are some moderate and new Republican U.S. senators who have not been heard from on Pete Hegseth yet, and there have yet to be any meetings with Democratic senators. And one Democratic senator, Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, told me he doesn't expect Pete Hegseth to meet with many, if any, Democrats, so that he can avoid answering those very questions he was avoiding in the hallway. And that would break from tradition to a degree because defense secretaries have a history of meeting with senators of both parties before confirmation hearings. That's what we're watching for over the coming days and likely the coming weeks.
All right, other events there on Capitol Hill. Homeland Security Secretary pick Kristi Noem also expected to meet with Republican senators on Capitol Hill today. What can we expect from those meetings? Is the focus going to be on her vision for mass deportation?
It looks like that meeting might have slid to later in the week or to next week, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen. But we're also going to watch that same dynamic, though. Does she meet simply with the Republican senators who have been most loyal to Donald Trump and are less likely to have anything but a positive readout of what happens behind closed doors. That's the real test of what she's being asked and how she's being pressed. But certainly the question she'd face if she walked these hallways would be how to execute the mass deportations Donald Trump has promised, and that, as critics say, are impossible and unwise. The Homeland Security Secretary would play quite a role in that, and Kristi Noem from South Dakota would certainly be asked questions about that.
And Scott, Congress also has a lot of work to do. We're less than 3 weeks out from the government spending bill deadline. Have we seen any progress in getting that legislation passed before the Christmas break?
I think the safest word to use is mess. That's a mess, and the deadline is December 20th to clean it up. There is another government shutdown deadline, and there are still those same narrow margins in the U.S. House and in the U.S. Senate, and a change of power coming. That makes for an unpredictable state of play with precious little time left, and there are two big issues to include in that. Ukraine funding. Will there be more Ukraine funding? A decision could be made. And disaster relief needed by tens of thousands of homeowners and small businesses whose applications are sitting there on the table until new money is approved. All of that has a deadline, but no path forward.
All right, Scott MacFarlane from Capitol Hill, thanks so much for that.